Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, where we care about your mental health and well being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and I want to make sure that you tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I have my special guest on to talk about real issues that matter most. I want you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Business Facebook page, also on the Be Awesome Network. Stay tuned. I think you're going to really like this next guest.
Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice. It's a brand new week, the sun's shining bright, a chance to cast your net, step into the light. Life's full of challenges, it's a winding stream, but with Coach Rice, you'll find your dream.
Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and with me today, I have a dear friend who is actually, to be honest with you, she's like a big sister to me. But I grew up around her, and she was always teaching me things, and she, when I see her, she always was so elegant and beautiful, and I used to always think about how funny and beautiful she was. She always smiled all the time, and I always remember her pretty smile. And she'd been knowing me since I was a little girl, but I just her name is Carla Jordan. She is an author, motivational speaker, an advocate for women overcoming life's toughest storms. Drawn from her own journey through grief, trauma, divorce, single parenthood, and personal transformation, she empowers women to rise and to rise from pain into purpose, which is what she did in her own personal life. Her message is rooted in faith and resilience and holistic wellness. Carla inspire others to reclaim their strength, embrace healing, and find beauty behind their smiles.
Oh, wow.
That's what. And so I just want to introduce you to her. And just to let you know, Carla, I am so very, very proud of you and inspired by the work that you did in this book.
Okay.
See the book?
Yes,
This
behind
was
my smiles.
This book I couldn't put it down.
Oh, thank you.
And I read the whole thing, and it wasn't hard to continue because I couldn't put it down. But I really was wondering when I looked at it today, and I said, I'm gonna interview you. The curiosity that came to my mind was, why did you choose this title for your book?
Oh, yeah. I knew you always come out with these deep questions. Why did I choose the title? Well, because I hid behind smiles for so many, many years. Um, you didn't get a chance to know me because I would just smile it away. You didn't know the pain, so I would just smile. So that was my story. I always came with a positive smile, laughing, grinning, but I was just hiding pain. So that was my book. I'm no longer in pain, so I can write about it now because I attempted many times to write the book, was not able to because I was still engulfed with pain and depression. And so now I can write with freeness. I can talk about it in freeness. So that was the title, Behind My Smiles.
And I remember your smiles. You had all kind of smiles, but you smiled. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Insults and smile.
Yeah. Yeah. I will smile. They could be something really going on, and then I'll be smiling and talking through my
But your
teeth. Like,
smiles look different depending on the context of what you were smiling about. But you did have I remember those smiles though, especially at the card parties I used to be at with y'all.
okay. Yeah, I used to play my cards, yes. And it was smiling. Sometimes that smile was like, I got you, and I'm about to trump you. Yeah, I got
right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
You got that Chicago on you, girl. And I saw it in your book, especially when you talked about the family outings. Oh my God, you brought me so much. Chicago, you brought the Chicago culture
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
light because you talked about the family gathering, you got together for the fish fry and
Yeah.
those were moments that I noticed in the book that this was these were moments that were great for you. That was
Yes.
you begin your book with these amazing moments, and it was around family support
Yes. Yes.
and all of the love that you felt during that time. And then your book take a turn.
Yeah.
One of the things that you wrote that stood out to me that made me say, I have to answer this question.
Uh-oh.
No, because you wrote, and I'm gonna quote you. You wrote, your inner and outer self needed an introduction to each other. That's a really powerful quote, and I want to know, what did you mean by that?
Well, with the smiles, I was always masquerading and
Mhm.
masking pain. And when I say my inner self and my outer self, sometimes you can trick yourself too, you know?
Mhm.
Sometimes we trick ourselves. Um, that to me was just how I lived most of my life after my mom's death. I had this persona that I was okay and I could continue the persona. And sometimes when everyone was, out of view, it was like, you're not happy, Carla. You don't really feel good. I'm having those inner conversations. And I was masquerading and hiding a lot of pain. So when I say my inner and my outer self needed to be
Mhm.
introduced, I needed it to be congruent. Whereas it was genuine.
Right.
I needed it to be genuine. And there were many times it was not. Some people call it phony. I was just surviving and I wanted to fit
Mm.
in. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be a part of it. So I masqueraded. Yeah. So
And you
that's
know
why.
what?
Mhm.
It was sort of like you had a disconnect between what's inside, what was showing up on the outside to the world, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. And you that's I like how you put that. It wasn't being phony, it was survival. So
Yeah.
being, you were surviving,
Yeah.
surviving. Um and then you describe feeling broken, smoldering, crushed, and dark on the inside. Which of those internal experiences was the hardest for you?
I think, I mean, all of them, they are all synonymous to me
Hmm.
because they were all introduced to me at such an early age, at the age of 8. And
Yes.
just being crushed in spirit is huge because I couldn't escape it. I couldn't get away from the sadness. I couldn't, every time I said, okay, you're here, there was something else to knock me back down. I said, okay, we
Mm.
stepped up, blah, this is happening or whatever. And I get knocked back down again. I was crushed. I was smoldering. I was hurting. I was in deep, deep pain for years. So whichever one stood out the most, I can't say. I'd say across the board, they were all synonymous and they all.
Ooh, that's heavy.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And that's how I was living though, as a child. So you have
Mm.
so many, and I think I say in the book, there's so many Carla Renees. And I use the name Carla Renee in my book because my
Mhm.
mother actually wanted people to call me Carla Renee. I don't know if I mentioned that in the book or not. She wanted them to call me by my first and my middle name. My mother was such a visionary. So that's why when you see little things about the smiles, or you see the red lipstick, or you'll see my mother's name was Gloria, and then my oldest daughter is Gloria. All of these are ways for me to honor my mother. Even when I say Carla Renee, this is what she wanted people to address me as Carla Renee. So yeah.
Mm. And I mentioned this in a previous interview, and I still want to mention it again, how this book, what blessed me most about this book was the fact that you are building a legacy for your children and grandchildren to know who you are, and at the core of who you are. And the timing is impeccable because it's age appropriate, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't get to choose what age you had to learn your lessons,
No.
because you had to learn them at such an early age, you lost your mother at the age of 8.
Yeah.
And that part was, heartbreaking to see that you had to go through that. But you wrote, everything is in place, everything is in order. And then she died.
Yeah.
You you went from hope to despair because you guys had the whole family did
Yeah.
because she had gotten some news that was hopeful, and then all of a sudden she was gone. You
Yeah.
know, how did you emotionally process that shock at that young age?
You know, I could have, since this is my first attempt at writing a book, I could have delved into what it felt like.
Mhm.
But there, and I think I touched on it slightly when I was told, oh, it's okay to cry, or maybe you don't have to cry. And then everyone was uncomfortable around me and they didn't know what to say to me. And it was just like my whole world was demolished.
Mm,
Anything, my whole foundation was just shattered. I can't say shaken because it was all so destructive the way it happened. And it was just so abrupt. Um, when I look back, I remember when the hospital called that morning, because I'm going to just go ahead and say this much. The day that she died, she was going to be transferred to another hospital.
mhm.
That was the hope we had. And then we got the phone call, and you could hear people screaming and wailing, and they kept saying, she's gone, she's gone, she's gone. I don't know how to process that. I'm 8 years old.
Right,
And back, in the 60s, children weren't allowed to go to the hospital. I
right.
never saw my mother once she was taken away in a cab with my aunt and
Mm,
my uncle. And then she's deceased. And then the next time I see her, she's in a casket. And I'm 8. So you don't have time to process it. They don't know what to say to you. You don't know how you're feeling. You're a child. Your whole world is just disrupted. And it is comforting for me now that I can write about it, because I attempted to
mm.
write so many times about my mom. I attempted throughout the years, but now I'm healed. Now I have peace. Now I'm not conflicted. There's no duplicity with me in my lifestyle or anything. I am whole. And so that's why I was able to write this book. I do apologize to anyone who gets the book if they see some errors in it. My publishers and my editors, they were in a hurry to get it out. And I'm steady saying, you got to correct this. This needs to be corrected. And they would assure me that it was was taken care of, and then it wasn't. So I apologize, but I hope the story is still getting across to my readers. So yeah, that.
Yes, it did. The content was so good, you kind of overlooked it.
So now they've done a re-edit. So there is a new re-edit on
That's
Amazon.
good.
Yeah.
And so you 8 years old,
Mhm.
you you know, your mother's gone, and then in the book it talks about now here comes you become an orphan right now. Now your whole role changes, and now you hear voices. You talk about this in your book, how who's going to take on, who's going to take me in, and for an 8 year old to worry like that, that had to be heartbreaking. What was the most scariest part of that at that moment when you were hearing those voices?
Not understanding. I was being discussed like an object.
Mm,
And I had never been an object to my mother. I had been her precious daughter, her precious baby. Where's my Carla? Where's my Carla Boo? You know. And now we have, well, who's going to take her? Well, I can't take her. You don't want her. You begin to hear these discussions, and you don't hear any love in the discussions.
oh yeah.
I'm not hearing where I'm wanted. I'm not hearing where I'm valued. I heard someone say, well, she's so spoiled. And, so I could hear this, and I'm listening at the door. And sometimes my grandmother would say, get away from the door, because my grandmother was always trying to protect me. And not knowing where I was going to live. And in my heart, hoping that my dad would be the one to pick up the torch and continue this love affair that I had with my mom. I wanted that to
Mm,
continue. Saying, okay, your mom's not here, but your dad's gonna pick up the torch. He's gonna take care of you. And things, it just didn't go that way. So
right.
the conversations I listened in on as a child, I still hear them today, and I can still see the setting. I can still feel it.
Mhm.
But I'm not crying now. I used to talk and I'd be crying, I'd be devastated. But when you heal,
Right.
when your heart heals, you can talk
Mm,
about things freely, you
that's
know.
true. And it don't have the same impact.
No, no.
And your mom played a major role in your life. And for those 8, you had a very impactful 8
Yes.
years with your mom because she taught you, you mentioned in your book, chess. You 8 years old.
No,
She
I
teach,
was
no,
playing
you were
chess at
younger than
6
that.
and 7.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you were
was playing
younger than
chess.
that.
Yeah. And
Your mom teaching you chess, the game of life, at a
yes,
young age.
when I tell you, Martha, if I know I'm scheduled to do 2 more books, but I've got 10 more books in me.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
you gotta have it.
I've got 10 more books in me. But when I tell you the things that my mother did in that 8 years, it will blow your mind. I touch on the subjects that she discussed with me freely. I also remember at the holidays, every year I would get this big dish set. I always give you dishes. They always are grooming little girls to be homemakers. She didn't buy me trucks or boats. It was always,
Right.
dishes, ironing boards, all of those things. I had dolls and babies, but she would take the macaroni and cheese and put them in the little casserole pots for me. She would take the turkey and dressing and put that in those little, those little those little tops we used to get, those little casserole,
Yes.
yes, the little play ones. Put them in there and sit. I had a little table, and I would have the little plate would have a full holiday dinner on it.
Mm.
She took her time. My little teapot had knee-high grape pop. Remember knee-high grape?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a Chicago thing. That's Chicago. And she always made everything perfect. She was
Mm.
amazing. She was amazing. I attempt to emulate her with my girls,
Okay.
but that was such a major loss. Don't you start crying. You look but yeah.
You so funny.
Yeah. She was everything. For real.
Mm.
Yeah, she was
Yeah, I
everything.
could see when you the way you describe it, but when you do for the audience context purposes, reading this book is like reading a series. Like you know, you watch like a series, like you watch Grey's Anatomy, and you're waiting on the next episode and the next episode.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
book felt like that to me. So when you say you have so much
Oh,
to
yeah.
talk about for Gloria, you got so much of Gloria to talk about,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
to the point she need her own book,
She does.
and the reason why I say that because you named your daughter after her because you felt like it was so meaningful
It was. She was.
and in her character. So she is the reason why you one of the people in your life. She was one of the reasons why why you are who you are today.
Yeah.
And so she need her own book.
She does.
Your grandmother need her own book. Your
Oh my.
dad need his own book. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was like, I need more. I need more. So when you see this book, you're gonna be when you read it, you're gonna it's gonna make you feel like I can't wait to the next book.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
want
so
more of
much.
Carla.
Yeah, and
That's interesting. That's interesting. But it's true. I'm not being funny. It's true. I'm not saying it just because. But
yeah,
when I was reading it, I really was like,
yeah.
I need
She was
more.
amazing. And she could sing. She had a beautiful voice. And when she would go out, she would dress up and they have on their ball, her dresses, her ball gowns or whatever. And she would sing just like Sarah Vaughan or Gloria Lynn. I mean, her voice was perfect pitch, but she was shy. She wouldn't sing. So she knew Jerry Butler. Sam
Hmm.
Cooke was a childhood friend. They all were down on, 35th Street. They used to call Sam Cooke Sammy. I remember once when he came over the house when I could have been no more than 6. And they were all excited. My mother and my grandmother said, Sammy's coming, Sammy. Who's Sammy? So he comes in, is a very thin man. I say hi. I go in the back and they're elated. They're in the front. But her voice, her singing chops were amazing. And then that's when my youngest daughter gets, and that's my oldest daughter, Gloria. She sings just like my mom.
Oh my God, your daughter can sing. And you sung. I heard you sing growing
Yeah.
up.
I did used to sing. I used to sing at my friends' weddings. Remember, I would do
Yes,
this.
I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember.
Yeah, and
I
then I had an
remember.
operation. I had an operation. There was a tumor in my throat. I had a
Mm,
5 hour operation. So the doctor said you might not be able to talk or sing or whatever. I was like, okay. The fact that I can talk and try to hum a little bit now is okay. I'm still here. I'm alive. But yes, my mother was everything. And yes, she does need a book. She does need a series. She needs it all. She was
yes, she
amazing.
needs it. She
She needs
needs it. That
yes.
you really have to let out those 8 years because that was power. The way you describe it in your book was so powerful
Oh,
that it really just said, I need more of what I want to know who her mom. I want to know who is Gloria. I want to know everything about Gloria.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you when you read this book, you will see what I'm talking about. And not only that, she really had dreams for you. And
She did.
when you lost her, you didn't just lose your mom. You lost so much more. What dreams did you feel that died with her?
Well, that's one when she died. I know I touched on this in the book, but I was always hoping as a little girl that there was a mistake made at the hospital and maybe she would walk back through the front door.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, yeah. I was always like,
It's almost like let wake me up from this
wait,
nightmare.
this is not true. This she's gonna come back home. So she had dreams. She had so many dreams for me. And I even saw her graduate from high school.
Mm.
I think I mentioned that. You don't want me to talk too much about the
Nope.
I know. I saw your face. You said, hmm. But I witnessed my mother graduate from high school. That's amazing for
Hmm.
a child to her mother. What
It
she wanted,
is. It
she
is.
wanted everything. She was, and it was such a travesty for all of that love and all of that life
Mm.
to cease so abruptly. All of the dreams, all of her hopes and aspirations for me as well. And
Right.
I held on to those dreams. She put them into me. She put that in me. She put those aspirations. She put the hopes in me. She put those desires to be. She didn't want me to be just a nobody. She wanted me to be somebody. Yeah.
Yes. And she had
Yes.
dreams of you being Miss America.
Yes.
And all
Yes.
of those things just went
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
when she died. Yeah.
Yeah.
That right there touched my heart as well. And and after her passing, I remember you writing, you were mentally preparing for your father to step up. What were you
Yeah.
hoping for?
Oh, I wanted my daddy to say, "That's my baby. Come get me." I wanted to run to my daddy. I want him to pick me up and say, "I'm taking my daughter home with me." I wanted him to embrace me and say, "I love you," and kiss my cheek and go get your things. You're going with me. But that did not happen. So the disappointments started at 8 years old. The
Mm.
disappointments from her death, and then my father's lack of responsibility of stepping up. Yeah.
And you have to buy this book to find out later. She finds out why. We're not going to tell her, but she finds out why she couldn't go with her dad the first time. We're
Yeah.
going to let the book tell it. Let the book tell it.
I love how you are putting my book out there. And just I have to say this, a side note, the look at you laughing, but you got that same laugh, you know that's that little bad laugh you had when you the um the outpouring of support that I have. And so many people are reaching out and saying, I have a story like this, and this happened to me. And my cousin said, I'm
Mm.
allowing people to be vulnerable now because I've told my story. I don't have to hide anymore. This is my story. This is where I came from. And I am allowing people to do the same. And one more note, I was at a store and I was speaking to this young lady and she said, Did you write a book? And I go, Yeah. She clicks on her phone. She says, Is this your book? And I go, Yeah.
Now
And
that
she bought
feels
it.
good.
She bought it right there. She clicked Amazon.
Mm.
And I said, Well, I'm the author. And then she takes a picture and she says, I'm with the author. I don't know who she is. If she's listening, I would love to just say thank you because those little caveats just propel me to continue what I'm doing. It made me feel like I am living in my purpose. I've also am touching others. And she said that, yeah, she's going to read the book. I'm going to tell everyone else about your book. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, wow. So these things, Gloria would be so proud of me, my mama.
Oh,
And I've always,
oh.
I want her to be proud of me. And I want my girls to be proud of me as well.
And people are supporting you because we can relate.
Yeah. It's
It's
relatable. Was it
relatable.
relatable? Yeah.
You brought out so much Chicago culture that people can relate to as well, and people can relate to their families, period, And so let's get to your grandmother, the original OG, Lurleen.
Yes. Lurleen.
Lurleen, you described your grandmother as 6 feet tall with the commanding presence and very little
Yes.
fuss. And your grandmother survived like indescribable conditions, no modern conveniences, no running water, living off the land. She was really like deep into slavery at that time, right? Picking
Well,
cotton.
yeah. And
And so those lessons that what's I would say, what silent lessons did she teach you through her actions more than her words? Because she went through a lot.
she did. She did. And she saw it and endured it, lived it, and told it. So imagine
Mhm.
this little girl, because I was the only child around. There was my
Right.
cousin, she was 10 years older, but I was the child. So I was always in the midst. And I would get some of the story, and they would always look over me and say, go out the room. So you go out the room and you still listen because you're right down the
Oh, it's
hall.
funny because in your book you go, I was eavesdropping again.
Yeah, why are you gonna start this story? And he's like, oh, get out of here, look at me. So sometimes they would tell a story and I try to get small so I could hear the rest of the story, and then they would turn and say, we didn't know you were in here, get out of the room, So my grandmother, she embodied strength, hope, determination, faith, stalwart, survival, magic.
Mm.
Sometimes I say, Granny, I'm hungry. There's nothing in the house to eat. And I
Mhm.
come back in the room, there'd be a full course meal. How she do
Mm.
that? You know how, you look in the fridge, you want it to pop out. Kids
Right.
are always looking in the fridge, right? I say, I'm hungry. I'm looking and there's nothing there. And then I go in the room and I can hear something going in some pots and pans. And then I'd have a full plate. My grandmother, so you take my mother, who was her mother, my grandmother, right? You put
Right.
these two women together, they both taught me determination.
Mm.
Both of them had determined spirits. So yeah,
And
my
that's what you have in you. That's interesting. Determination.
and I have had to be determined. I have had, I tell stories in book two, you'll get it, where after divorce and raising two children, you have a salary, you go to work, you don't make enough money, you don't qualify for this. Then you go up
Right.
and you try to get some assistance for the government. They say, "Oh, you make too much money."
Yeah.
So I couldn't get this what I needed here. Or your credit score is just a little too low. Or no, this is too much. So I was always, but I had to be determined, and I did not let my girls see it. Sometimes I think they would hear me cry a little bit at night, but when they come in the room,
Mm.
I had to wipe those tears away and be whatever they needed me to be. So I know I've gone off on a tangent, but when you talk
No,
about
you're fine. You're
yeah,
fine.
yeah, but my grandmother, she taught me survival, strength, determined, be strong,
Mm.
lift your head up. And they always had these sayings. My grandmother was so good. I don't care if you have a nickel in your pocket. When you walk out the door, look like you got $1 million. So I just did that. I just kept going. I just lived on their words. Everything that they taught me.
Right.
I held them close to my chest. I did.
And you talk about when you talk about it's interesting because you talk about your dad. I remember you talk about his charismatic personality where he would smile and joke but he
Mhm.
was never open to let you in.
Never, never.
And do you see the parallel that you were actually walking in when you were growing up as an adult that it started to form that for you as well before you got healed?
I just being an African American or a black, or what, you didn't have so many names with Negroes, black, whatever, growing up as a person of color, that's another
Mhm,
title we have.
mhm,
You didn't tell people what you didn't have. You just didn't
mhm.
share it. You just came out and you just made the best of what you did have, you know?
Right.
So eh, my dad, yeah, I don't even know the question because now I've gone off. I'm thinking
Oh,
about him, but he
he's I
always,
know, right?
yeah,
He
my
always
father,
he you
yeah,
mentioned he smiled.
all the time,
He
all,
joked.
all the time,
You smiled. You
all the
joked.
time.
But
Yeah,
neither one of you guys will let anybody in.
no, we weren't,
Isn't
neither
that
one of us was,
interesting of that parallel until you got healed?
yeah.
So with that being said, how this is a separate question because you did kind of alluded that this was happening, but how did the brokenness influence your understanding how important it is to get healing, the healing that you need, being that you saw it from one person didn't get healed, but you did.
My father, you emulate what you see, right?
Hmm.
You emulate what you see. Um, everybody loved him in the neighborhood, Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown.
Yeah,
And
I remember you mentioning that.
yeah, yeah, he was a war veteran. He had received some awards from, being in the military. He taught me, those people did not know him, and very
Mm.
few people knew me. People knew
Hmm.
of me. They had an idea of who I was, or they came up with their own conclusions. And my father set the tone for me to come out and joke and laugh and be whatever, and then go home and cry, you know?
Hmm.
Then go home. And that's why I say in the book, the inner and the outer needed to be introduced, right?
Right.
So there's a disconnect because we've got this persona going on in front of everyone that everything's good. Like I said in the book, then I would flash those smiles, just like my dad. But there's
Right.
a picture of me and my dad. I saw it. He looks so handsome on the picture, and I'm sitting in his lap, and I'm dressed up for one of the holidays, and he looks beautiful, and I look like a sad little girl,
Mm.
you know?
Wow.
Yeah, I just happened to look at that picture for the first time. I love that picture because my mom had laid my hair out, honey. We used to wear those Shirley Temple curls,
I
girl.
remember the Shirley Temple girl.
I I had the Shirley Temple curls, and she looks like, I think there's like a red velvet bow because my mom went all out when it came to dressing me. And I've got these white tights on. They've got like a little red design on the side. I got these little black. I mean, I'm sharp with this coat, but there's no smile on my face. And maybe
Mm.
because I didn't get enough of my dad. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So now when you go back and you look at the pictures, you're like, there's no smile here, Carla.
Mm.
There's so many stories, like you said. My mom deserves her own book. Like my husband, my ex-husband, he said, well, I want to play this person in the movie and I want to do this in the movie. But I know who
Because
could
everybody
play,
see a movie.
and you saying a series, but whatever
A
it is, I know.
series, a
Yeah.
movie, or something. I'm telling you, this it
Yeah.
could be. I mean, I see a series. I'm telling you, I see a series because a movie would do. It depends on how you write it too. I think that you're gonna write it in a way that you're gonna see a series. Like
Yeah.
Tyler Perry, he writes series in the context of where it need to be. So,
Okay. Well,
but
hey, Tyler Perry. Hey. Hey.
you had some influential people in your life. Some were where they influenced the way you move in life. And so let's talk about Maybelle and Tina. Were they safe s- places for you in your life? Or were
Oh,
they
when you
once
say
were and
May,
then
like my Aunt May.
yeah, your Aunt May and your cousin Tina, right?
Hmm.
Were they a safe space for you?
My Aunt May was not.
Okay. I
My
remember in the
aunt,
book you talked about it.
yeah, she was not. Um, so
But
that's how
appeared to
what
be, right?
she gave all the appearance of being everything that's upright, but
Right.
behind closed doors, no, it was not safe. There was no love. There was no connection. There was no interaction. There was no affection. There was room and board provided for me. So
Mm.
no, she was not a safe place. My cousin Tina, we had grown up throughout the years together. She was 10 years older than me. She was the closest uh, person to me, or like a sibling. She was like a sibling. Did she present safety? Sometimes, but not all the time. So she could be inconsistent with her
Hmm.
emotions, but I know she loved me and I
Hmm.
loved her. So that was
Okay.
not, that was never a question. The safety came, and you'll know that's toward the end of the book. So there were very few people that there were people that would come in my life who would
Right.
do some nice things, but they would make their exit. So they were just there for that particular reason or season.
Okay. Junior was interesting because he was your uncle.
My only uncle, my mother's youngest brother, they were like 1 year apart. They were one
Oh
year
my
apart.
God, the way you described him was so interesting. It was interesting because I remember that's the part, that's why I was saying he was the one that reminded me, like, I wonder if she's talking about the same Junior, because we had a cousin named Junior, and on the weekdays he would be so mean. And on the weekends when he drink, he was so much fun. It was
Yeah,
like, who is it? Who are you? But
yeah,
and you
yeah.
described him that way, and it was like, oh my God, I have a cousin like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was a character because we all lived together, and we had that long console television. That was a big statement for you to have that. Remember those long
Yes,
ones?
yes.
And then we had the one on top that really worked.
Yes,
So we had
yes.
two television, you come in, oh my
I
God, you got
remember.
this, you got the
Yeah.
stereo in there, and the things never worked. And then you have the TV with the hanger on top or whatever, the
Oh yeah, for
pliers.
the antenna. Yeah.
Yeah. And he would
Mhm.
stand in front of it. That's what he would do. You had to look around. He was so mean Monday through Friday. Just a mean person. Just stand in front of the television. It's the black and white. I can't see Star Trek or whatever it is because he's standing in front of it. And by Friday, he came home after when he got paid, and he was the best uncle in the world. He was the best uncle in the world.
Mm.
He was the best. And he would come home. I don't know how much hamburgers were at McDonald's back then or White Castle, but it would always be bags of it. And there's only he, myself, and my grandmother, because by then my aunt and Tina had moved out and my mother was deceased. But we would all get together still those Friday nights. The family would get together at my grandmother's, and he was fun. And he would play Major Lance and Monkey Time, and we get up and do the boogaloo. I mean, it was just fun, fun, fun. And then, man, as soon as Monday came, he was back. So I think that he needed that alcohol because apparently, whatever his dreams were, they were unrealized as well. So I give everybody in my book grace. They're deceased. They can't
Yes.
they can't tell their side of the story why they did what they did. So I honor them by giving them grace. Did they do some crazy stuff and some mean things? Yeah. But I can't
But they
hold on
had
to it.
all had their struggles that they dealt
Yeah.
with that
Yeah.
caused their behavior to
Exactly.
come to surface like that. Like he
Exactly.
later in life, you were taking care of him as well.
Yeah.
And once again, boom,
Yeah.
he come to the you were shattered. He took something from you
Yeah.
that was very important.
Very
That
dear to me.
your last thing that you had of your mom's.
Yeah.
And so when he did that, did you find that you had to grieve all over again?
I remember crying so hard when he did that. But then I have to tell you, Martha, there was never no one to come and rescue me.
Mm,
No one would say, baby, stop crying. It's okay. I would just have to cry it out. You know how they'll
right.
say, put the baby in the room and let it cry? I don't believe in
Right.
that, but that's what they would say. Um, I just cried and cried and cried. I was so hurt because I had that possession with me throughout all those moves and
Hmm.
relocations. And then he just took it like it was a piece of paper and walked on. And I don't even remember how I got through that. I went outside. I remember going outside and looking and screaming, where are you? Screaming. He was gone. He had taken it and he was gone, you know. So
Mm,
that pain was not resolved probably until I started healing myself, you know?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one that I would think about. I'd be like, woo. You have to go take a drink, like, woo,
Right.
you know.
That's the that's a tough one.
That's the one. You'd be like, woo, he took that. So,
But you had to walk through a journey of healing. And what would you say the most important thing that you did to heal? Because you had to walk through a journey of healing.
I know my prayers and my
Mm,
belief in God. I had hope. I had things had to get better. And when something else would happen, I say things can't get any worse. It's only going to get better. So I kept praying. I stayed in prayer. I stayed in positions where I'm looking up to the sky saying, oh my God, why is this happening? I held on to faith. I know you're there. I know you can hear me. I know you're listening. So I just prayed my way through my life. I prayed. And it was my belief in God that got me through it. I didn't turn to any type of lifestyle that could cause me to live any other way that wouldn't honor my mother. I always wanted to honor my mother and my grandmother. I think I mentioned in
mm,
the book, even when I'm graduating from eighth
hmm.
grade, I wish they could see me. You know,
Right.
I wanted them to be there. And I still, to this day, just remember like when my grandmother, sometime I do something, she was from Mississippi. She didn't share a lot. The emotions, they weren't allowed to.
Right.
They were not allowed to,
You just
so
led me into my next question.
uh-oh. I know you got some deep ones. You don't have a question like, what's your favorite color, Carla?
No, 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 no. No, no,
None
no.
of those. Okay. None of that. What's your favorite color?
None of that. None of that. None of that.
Okay. Okay.
I want you to think about Gloria and Lurleen because they were like the most they were like the most positive influences that stayed consistent in your life
Mm-hmm.
as a positive influence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they no longer here. What would what do you think they would say if they saw you where you are right now?
I think when I look, I know my mom would be just elated, but this would probably my grandmother, if she could see me today, she probably would cry. Cry would
Mm,
cry. 'Cause my grandmother didn't cry. I only seen her cry maybe once when my mom died, and then I think I mentioned in the book when she was registering in school,
mm. Oh
the tears. Yeah, the
yes.
tears. But she turned. She was so strong. So I would love to hold and embrace both of them. And I think they would both be so proud of me because I endured and I weathered all those storms. And I did it with smiles, I did it with tears, but I did it based on the strength and the information that they both gave me. I was able to live my life with those words that stayed close to my heart. So, kudos to Gloria and kudos to Lurleen. They were who I attempted to emulate and pattern my life after. Those two ladies, those two there, they wasn't no joke. They were not.
Mm.
They
That's
weren't
why
not.
you have to have. That's why they have to have their own series, their own book. They need their own story because there's
They
so
were
many that's
oh,
connected to you. That
so much, so much,
yeah.
so much,
If
so much.
if you could say something to if they were right here and you could say something to each one of them, what would it be?
Thank you. Thank you. I love you. You did your job. You are amazing. You are to be emulated. You're to be honored. And I love you both unconditionally. That's what I
Mm.
have for both of them.
Mm. And it shows in your book too.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
it
Look,
shows in your
that's
book.
that Martha smile. See, that's that smile,
That's
Martha.
the smile,
That's
huh?
the smile. Yeah.
So now to the audience, what wisdom would you offer to someone who's still smiling through pain?
I would tell them not to give up, Many times you hear people say, I'm just going to give up, and they do because it's hard.
Hmm.
And in this life, and in this world, and in this country, and in this time, there's so many challenges for many, many people.
Hmm.
And there are challenges even more so for people of color. And then there are challenges if you are a woman. There are challenges if you are a single mother. So there's just so many challenges that we have to endure. I would tell them to be strong and to be steadfast and to find something to believe in and to hold on to it
Mm.
and to love yourself and to give yourself grace and mercy. Because when
Yes.
we're children and things are happening to us, we're vulnerable. We can't get in
Mm.
our car and drive away. We have to sit there and sit in it,
Ooh.
right?
Yes. I like that you mentioned that. Yes.
We're there. You can't say,
Hmm.
hey, I'm going to move. You can't.
Mm-mm.
So I had to learn how to be there and be present, but at the same time, I was not. And I would always say things are gonna get better.
I am so grateful and honored that you came to speak to my audience. And I would say to my audience, I did not want to give up all the information in the book. You have to get it because it's so much to unpack and it's so much she talk about in the book. She's very transparent, very authentic. It took courage. It took for her to go against everything anyone would ever say
Yeah.
or think about her to do this. She had to go through hurdles to
Yeah.
cross those paths and even just in her mind. So I definitely appreciate what you did and definitely would say it's going to help so many people and keep writing. Don't stop. Continue to
Mhm.
do what you do. Be that light to someone because it's ministry, it's helpful. And to my audience, if you feel like this was helpful, please do share. And I will put the link to her book in the comments and share, subscribe, let people know, this book is out here because it was healing for her to write it, but it's healing to the person who suffer in silence, who's smiling through pain. And so let this be something that you can utilize to connect to someone who's going through the same thing that you are. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. Have an amazing Monday. And Carla, thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming on the podcast. Until
Thank you.
then, have a
Thank you. Mwah.
marvelous day.
It's your time to shine. Your journey to chart. Coach Rice wisdom will heal every heart. So join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice.